Exactly. As you have seen, when you take your agenda, your timetable, you know that today we are dealing with course 105. Course 105 is a course that helps us to is the summary of what we learn from course 101, from course 102, and also from course 103. Today we want to see it in a practical way, how we can implement those safety standards. So please kindly mute yourself to avoid background noise as we are about to start. That's very good. So without wasting much of time, uh, let me quickly allow me to share my screen as we are about to start. Oh. So this is briefly, I will say brief about myself because I have the privilege to lead the class this evening. Nevertheless, since all of you have the paper presentation with you already, I will not focus my time reading the non-essential things. We briefly go to the most important things in a practical way so that at the end it can allow you to make your note or to ask questions. So this evening I'm privileged to conduct the training. Here is what you can little know about me briefly. By profession, I am quality auditor, especially I have a specialty in food technology and environment science. Over the year, I have practiced quality and metrology specialist. So right now, I'm talking from my office, which is the National Agency of Standardization, Metrology and Quality Control of Benin Republic. I have the privilege to be sitting the management, namely as the Chief Product Certification and Evaluation of Conformity in this agency. Also, I have, since a man to be versatile, I have also acquired a lot of experience. So I am an expert in the information system and traceability by barcode technology. Then since the beginning of this masterclass, I mean since batch 1, we were privileged to be a trainer. So we have been training from batch 1 to batch 12. Around the geographical environment, that is the geographical organization, I am privileged to be member in some technical committee, namely EcoSTAN. Now, EcoSTAN is the institution that hosts all the ECOWAS countries. We are 14 countries, so we share the common standards that are called ECOWAS. Now, in the African regional level, we also have African Regional Standard Organization that I am privileged to be part of some technical committee, namely in agro-food technology. So here in my country, I'm privileged to be the administrator as far as OSHAssociation is concerned. It is under banner that I have the privilege to be leading the floor this evening. So what are we going to learn? Generally, here are some techniques that can help each one of us to feel relaxed. Since we're going to spend 2 hours here, it's going to be necessary to make use of those 2 hours effectively. In OSHAssociation, our motto and foremost concern is promoting safety and saving lives. So all the things we have been doing, it will impact people's lives so that we can save more lives. Therefore, throughout the training, we're going to follow through some scenarios, some experiences. Therefore, while the case is being narrated, try to be yourself. Find yourself to be fitted. Even though you want to be relaxed, but you need to be focused. The best way you can focus is by taking good notes and by listening. Do not focus on what is written on the screen because you have the presentation with you and you can go through it anytime you like. But you can focus on what you are listening to so that it can help you to retain, because some of the things written might not be covered. But what I will say, might not necessarily be in black and white with what is written there. So to allow others also to benefit, you need to mute your microphone to avoid background noise. Do not be open your mind large. Do not be fixed in your own sector alone. Open your mind large, because there is wisdom in learning from others. Therefore, always make down your question so that at the end you can ask them, or maybe at the day allotted for question and answer, you can participate well. We need to hydrate ourselves. That's why it's always good to have a bottle of water beside you, or a soft drink depending of your position, so that you can hydrate yourself. Do not forget that from time to time you need to move, make a body movement to avoid ergonomic. So tonight course is course 105. It is entitled Implementation of Effective Health and Safety Standard. Now, two words are really important for us here. We all know that when we say to implement is to put in practice or is to apply. So implementation should not be a problem for us, but the other way is effective. Among the two, we have effective standard. While Dr. Pierre was covering his course, I especially begged him to do a little bit introduction to standard so that it can open your mind. Well, while Mrs. Prudenciana was giving her course, he also mentioned some standard. Tonight we're going to talk about standard because this is the main point. Now, depending on your position, maybe after the master class, you can endeavor to learn deep about standard, because standard are overall in whatever we are doing. Tonight, we want to consider three major standards. In this course, three major standards are important. That's why we talk about IMS. IMS is a integrated managing standard, or some others say integrated managing system, which is a condensation of three major standards, three major international standards, namely ISO 19001. ISO 19001 is about quality management. Now, quality management, it applies to everything we do, both product, system, people, and all company of reputation should go for ISO 19001 certification, because this is a standard that helps an organization to be sure that what he's doing, both his process, the people, and his product are of standard. We also have the ISO 14001. 14001 is about environment. We remember that we cannot live independent of our environment, and our ecosystem require a lot of us, so that we can invest a lot of effort by amending, by not ruining. In fact, even the creator of the planet also is angry. That's why in some of the holy books, he said that he's going to ruin those bringing ruin to the earth. It is the Bible book of Apocalypse, or if you like, Revelation. He specifically said that he's going to bring to ruin those who are ruining the earth. So we don't want to ruin the earth. Instead, as a safety professional, we want to bring our help to solve all the bigger issues. And the best way we can do is by applying standard. We have ISO 40001. Then since we are all workers, we have to do ISO 45001, which is especially about health and safety and security at workplace. So all the things we're going to do are having the basement, are having the root on V3 standard. That's why we talk about integrated management system or integrated managing standard. Therefore, what are we expecting to pass through? Well, if you have your class manual, you notice that these are the sections we need to cross, namely how to carry out risk assessment, safe system of work, monitoring, inspection, and auditing. Health surveillance also, because the health issue of the employees are really important. When accidents occur or e-reporting, how can we handle them, or how to carry out accident investigation? And finally, in everything, training is really important because we do our part and leave the rest for others. We are sure that they cannot do if they did not receive the proper training. So these are the major things we want to uh, pass through this evening. Now, let me use this illustration. Imagine that you have at your disposal a building full of surprise, quality surprise or gift or belonging, and they ask you to go in. What will be the first thing you do? Mind me, the building is locked, but for certainty, all the rooms are full with practical and valuable items. Where will you start? We all agree that the first thing we need to do is to ask for the key, because without that key, we cannot have access to those buildings. Therefore, when it comes to whatever I want to do as far as safety is concerned, the first and foremost, the key is called risk assessment. That's why while Mr. Finn was carrying on his lecture, he also teach each one of us how we can carry a fire risk assessment. While Alice was bringing out her lecture, he also mentioned, in fact, all the courses, even yesterday, we saw how to carry out PPE risk assessment. So risk assessment is the key for everything. This is the beginning of the point for four good reasons. First, his importance cannot be mentioned over and over because it helps to prevent. This asset help to have a structure. It helps us to bring to life the structure of the organization so as to prevent. Also, not only prevent but to reduce. For example, many of the company owners or the employer, some of them might not be from a safety sector. Some of them, most of them are for business sake. It's because of making profit. That's why they open their organization. Now, the finality is to make profit. Whereas, if you have opportunity or you are opportune to have an employer that from safety sector, you can feel yourself fortunate because he will take into account most of the things we want to say. But in the case that they are non-professional safety practitioner, the major work falls on you because while carry out your risk assessment, it aims to prevent accident and dangerous hazard. But how can you handle all of it if there is no a budget for it? Therefore, risk assessment help the management or those who have power to identify, to make sure that they bring to reality all the health and safety priority. Then the organization can put at your disposal a budget to handle this. Do you see how important it is? That's why it should be at the beginning so that the organization can allocate funds then you can implement. That it also help to reduce accident. Risk assessment is really important, and every time the first thing you need to do, remember that it is risk assessment. You need at least these four methods to carry out your risk assessment. The very first one is to identify. This is the work of manager, this is the work of supervisor, and this is the work of all workers. You need to spot it, you need to spot the risk, you need to spot the hazard. After identify them, then you put in practice how you can assess, how you can make the assess. Because remember, we said that the aim is to prevent, but in case you cannot prevent, you minimize it, you assess it. After assessing it, you need, as time goes on, you need to evaluate to see if what you have done is really applicable. It's not simply to find something from document and paste to your organization. No, you need to evaluate. Then you need to put it under controlling measure to see how effective it is. Here are some principles that will help you to have a successful risk assessment. In every company, there is always risk. It might be a minor risk, a medium risk or a major risk. There is always a risk everywhere. Then, while carrying out the principle of risk assessment, it will help you to ensure that all workers, because the risk assessment's aim is that for the workers, since they are the ones spending a lot of time in the site, they should be protected. Now, apart from the worker, individually, it might be the public or passerby, passengers, they too need to be taken into account, or in general, your community, is to make sure that they benefit from what you are doing by the overall safety. Then, as I said earlier, it will help you to judge, it will help you to balance things, to put into the ways to see the benefit and the risk associated to your organization. As you are going through it, you can have a good architecture or a good structure of what the field in which your intervention can be brought forward. Therefore, it will help you to prevent. Now, in the case that you cannot prevent, it helps you to minimize or to help amend. But the primary concern should be to prevent, because we want to be a preventive instead of be running when it happens. Also, it will help you to concentrate all the hazards. When they are not brought to the light, you cannot work on them. If you do not identify them, you cannot work on them. Therefore, risk assessment, 5 basic principles help us to make a proper risk assessment no matter in which field we are working. Such principles are, for example, before we talk about continue with the principle, once you are privileged to carry out a risk assessment, do not take it lightly, because life of property, life of environment, and life of people depend on your work. The best you handle it, the safer people will be, the safer the environment will be. Or if you neglect it, people, even you yourself, you might carry along the penalty with the setback. As I said earlier, employers have the responsibility to carry out the risk assessment of the organization. Nevertheless, not all employers are from safety sector or industry sector. That's why they hire safety personnel. That's why they hire a safety manager. That's why they hire a safety supervisor, because as safety practitioner, you have acquired the technique, you have acquired the knowledge, you have acquired the experience to work on them. There is this African proverb that says that if you are not intelligent, at least be intelligent to surround yourself with intelligent people. That is, as an employer, I might not have the right direction, the right motive, because my motive will be for business sake. But once I hire you people, it will be you people as safety practitioner, namely manager, supervisor, officer, to bring this to life. So I will invest power in you, that is, the employer will invest power in you, so that you can make sure that you do an appropriate assessment about health and safety for all the employees, because me, the end result is to make my profit. But you, as a safety personnel, you are the one to carry out that risk assessment. Even though it is stipulated in the law that it is the employer's responsibility, not all of them are from safety sector. Therefore, once you are privileged to be in the management, your voice will speak volume, and you need to lead by example by carrying such a daunting assignment. According to the law, as we need to say every time, employer with at least 5 or more employees must record any significant finding. In fact, even if it is 2, even if it is 1, because if you do not document while making the matrix of your risk, you can't work. You can't work. Therefore, you need to record, because those records will serve you on a fateful day. Also, it may sometimes be straightforward That is a very simple thing that you can do depending the size and depending on the size of your organization, and also in the field in which your organization is specialized. But sometimes it's always good to ask for the service of the consultant. That's why, as we said in the previous slide, that it helps the management to allocate funds, to allocate a budget to work. So if there is no competent person within the organization, you need to hire an external practitioner consultant. Now, those of you that are working, that is very fine. But sometimes if it happens that we do not have job, we can become consultants so far that we acquire the experience needed. Then we can go to draft or make a risk assessment for many companies, because risk assessment is very important for all companies and organizations. It is not as difficult as people thought, but it's very simple and methodological. Risk assessment obeys 5 good principles that we need to find very soon. If you are called on, or if you want to train somebody for risk assessment, these 5 steps are fundamental. These 5 steps are overall. These 5 steps apply to all types of activities so far that you want to carry out risk assessment. The very first, as I said earlier, you need to spot it. You need to spot the hazard. You need to identify the hazard, clearly identify, so that it will not be ambiguous. Then once the hazard is found, you need to find the hard target. You need to identify those who that hazard might likely harm. But as it's gonna harm them, you need to also to pen down the likelihood, how it's going to harm them. The third point is to evaluate the risk by looking at the existing measure, controlling measure. You know, in every organization, by principle, it is automatic, as we see later. The internal auditor have the serious responsibility to carve out his matrix of risk. Then it will help him to see if the controlling measure put in place are effective. If not effective, he need to improve on. Most of the time, as time goes on, we need to improve our standard. Then recording is really fundamental. If this is the fourth step, you need to record anything found. Then you need to inform the workforce that there is such a control measure put in place in case you want to do it. Even they are the one that will implement. While you do your paperwork, is the workers that will implement in while working. And finally, as time goes on, you need to review your risk assessment to make it updated. Since the world is evolving and everything is on the run, so are principle and procedure. That's why it requires updating. So these 5 principles are necessary and are fundamental, no matter what type of risk assessment you are carrying out. Let's take this illustration. For example, you are asked to make a risk assessment on the field. What you can do is simply walk around at the workplace and you make good use of your senses. Observe how activity are carried out. While you are observing how activity are carried out, you'll be asking yourself if this is the appropriate way. Generally, there are process and procedure for all companies. Then this is the time to check if things have been done according to the procedure and the policies of the company. For example, you may start from the simple activity. Then as time goes on, you go for more deeper, more technical side, so as to see how workers are implementing this thing. But you are not work as a policeman, or you are not work as someone that will intimidate them or making yourself big boss. No. Remember that you are working as partner. You are working as a big brother, watching over your colleague for the welfare, not to punish them. Therefore, you need to involve them. Involving them means a lot. Most of the time when management meets for important meeting and discussion, those who will be impacted with the decision are most often not present. I mean the ordinary workers, the officers. Therefore, before going to management, always trying to have the view, always trying to involve them at a lower level, then it is the decision, it is the way of work you will carry out while in a management team. There is no man on earth who does not need advice. No matter how experienced you are, no matter how talented you are, no matter how bright you are, how skillful you are, always ask for advice. Always ask. Advice serves us to confirm what we know and to give us good orientation. Advice boosts our self-confidence. You might really know the thing, but still it's really important to ask, how do you see this, even though you are the man to make the decision, because you have been invested power to carry out such a decision. That's why you are admitted to the management team. But while carrying out your risk assessment, please do not frequently interrupt people. Leave them to bring their work to the final point, then you can judge them. But if you have the habit of stopping them often and on, it may become hazardous to them because they will not feel comfortable while working in your presence. Remember, your aim is to make sure that there is no injury, fatality, or to minimize them. As a good safety manager, you need to have what we call cartography of risk, or in another word, matrix of risk, risk matrix. Risk matrix is a mechanism whereby you make it tangible, you make it palpable, how things can be handled, each risk according to the controlling measure. And do not only consider the mechanical risk. There are some abstract risks. There are some abstract hazard that may lead to a severe setback. So here is a risk matrix involving someone working with a system, a parallel system, or working in a online system. So the first observation is that his password, because as a platform, you need to log in to make input of data and to monitor things. So the first observation is that the system password can be guessed because it does not follow the alphanumeric, it does not follow the criteria of having a strong password. By extension, let me quickly tell you that for most of us who have a password as our date of birth, this is the easiest thing in the world to be guessed. Many people, their password is their date of birth. Many people, their phone password is their date of birth. Their mail password is their date of birth. Let me tell you, you are not secure. This is the easiest thing to guess. When a hacker attack you first, or want to attack your system, the very first thing you think about is your date of birth. Because many people over the years have been using such, knowing that they can quickly remember. But this is the completely non-effective. So the man noticed that is the auditor noticed that his password is not strong. That's why most of the time they ask us to use the alphanumeric symbol. That is, you use capital letter, lowercase letter, you use some sign and symbol, and also some numeric letters. So he noticed that the likelihood is medium. The impact is medium, even the risk rating is medium. Then for any risk found, you must make a recommendation. When we come to the auditor sector, we see auditor have a solemn responsibility to make a recommendation. What does it mean? It means that you need to cultivate yourself, you need to be well conversant, you need to be well documented. But there is nothing wrong that if there are some domain that you are not well skillful, you can ask for the help. Sometimes even it is said that by humility, you need to follow along with a specialist in such a domain while carving out a risk assessment matrix or cartography of risk of every company. This is a must. Every company must have their cartography of risk or risk matrix, because the law stipulated that there should not be a company that should not carry out risk assessment, and this does not something new. It existed since many years. Those such law have been revised from time to time. According to the standard we mentioned, those three standards we mentioned, there are some requirements that all company must carry out risk assessment. So here are some acts that bring the importance of it. Now in visa international act, in every country you have your national standard that stipulate how it's going to be done. Now within the same country, we have some region, because of the speciality in such a region, they have also their regional standard. So you need to be aware of that. You need to be conversant with such principles so as to carve out your risk assessment. But it is mandatory. Everyone, every company, no matter what sector you are operating, you must carry out risk assessment. And remember, I said that most of the employers are not safety practitioners. So it is you, I mean you, that are benefiting from this matter, that the responsibility falls on to carry out your risk assessment. Let's use a quickly an illustrative example. The most common use item or tool in workforce is a ladder. Ladder can be used indoor as well as outside. So ladder here is to used to retrieve goods from a height or from yes, from a height. Now the hazard is that while making use of the ladder, a member might fall, that is the person climbing the ladder might fall, or material might fall. When it fall, it will hit someone. So who is at visit the hazard you have spotted while doing risk assessment? Then you need to find out who might be harmed and how. And everybody within the vicinity will be harmed: employees, member of the public, and visitor. Then how are they going to be harmed? It is said that material falling and hitting on them, or someone, a staff member falling down, he may break his head or may break his have injury. Are there any control measure put in place to deal with it? Yes. The existing ladder are provided with security hook to stabilize the top of the ladder against a storage rack. This is a control measure. Now, is this controlling measure effective? If yes, good. If not effective, what do you propose? Because you need to make a recommendation. Then as a recommendation, we said they need to set up a ladder register and ensure that during the shift, the supervisor inspects the ladder every week, or in case there is a significant injury, they need to instantly mute yourself. So you propose that every week all ladders should be inspected, which is not in our habit in Africa. We continue using things without inspecting them. So here is just an illustrative case. Now when you see it, what you need to do, you need to record, because remember, recording will make your constants very effective. Therefore, you need to record the control measure put in place and what you propose. Then it helps you to save it. You save it in the organization system so that it can be used for future purpose. As time goes on, you need to review. By law, it is required that at least every year, all the activities should be reviewed about all the recording to see if the overall controlling measure are effective, or if a necessity need to be done. Why is it every year? Because remember, at the beginning of the year, for some, from September, they start making what we call the PTA. That is a plan, a working plan of the annual working plan. This is where they make the budget. This is where they structure all the major work to be done. So while making your budget, you need to review all these things, review them so as to see where to improve. The necessary fund will be allocated so that the safety of the employee will be increased. When we talk of a safe system of work, what do we mean? First, a safe system of work have in the first position the human resources, I mean you, because we all agree that work cannot be done even though technology have far advanced. After all, it is workforce, human workforce that is active in operating things. So safety system of work consists of people. It also consists of set of rule, that is process and procedure to carry out tasks. That's why such procedure are found in manual. In every sort of activity, there is a specific manual that give the worker what he need to do. Then the worker become obedient subject by following such a rule. Such procedure help you to carry out your task safely. When we make good use of such procedure, in effect, we are implementing the safe system practice. Then over the year, when we continue practicing them, they become a strong safety system of work. So, in another word, safe system of work is all the process, procedure, instruction, and the human force put into operation to accomplish its task safely. Who have the privilege to enforce such a safety system? In another word, everyone is involved, but those who spearhead such safety system of work are the top. I mean you as manager, you as supervisor, you as safety officer, you need to participate. But now you know things have been improving. It is said that in the new denomination, it is the internal auditor. Every organization, well-structured organization should have an internal auditor. It is the internal auditor that spearhead. Before it is said that it is the safety manager. Well, the safety manager work under the supervision of the internal auditor. The internal auditor is attached to the management in a hierarchy, but when it comes to functionality, it is attached to the employer, I mean the owner. Now, in some company where they have board of director, the internal auditor is receive directly order from board of director, whereas it's the manager that is his hierarchy, or in function he receive, he's subject to the board of director. That's why generally in many companies the fund allocated to the internal auditor to carry out his cartography of risk is non-negotiable. That is, if the internal auditor structure out what he need to do during the year and the budget, that budget is not subject to amendments by other tiers except the board of director, and his budget will be including to the company overall budget, so that he will have a freedom of speech to carry out his activity. Failure for the company to progress, they will hold the internal auditor responsible. Now here, safety manager, supervisor, and everyone take the lead as far as safety aspect is concerned. The safety aspect is not the only aspect of the company, because we have also the finances, we have the management overall, we also have the reputation and the impact to the society. That's why all of them work under the leadership of internal auditor. Then together, all of you draw up the safe system of work. Now, in case that you have nothing to follow, this is where you go to the standard. When you go to the standard, those IMS standard we mentioned, integrated management standard, you carve out those technical rules that you can adapt to your company, then the drawing you make will reflect exactly the needs of your company. It's true that the standard gives general observation. Then it's up to you, that is your team, to draw out from the requirements, then you adapt them to the need of your company. Then at the end of the day, your safe system of work will be effective, will be efficient, and finally it will be economic. Because even if it is effective and it is efficient and it is not economic, you will not have a lot of funds to implement them. Among other things, a safe system of work should be able to carve out such a proper labeling like permit to work, isolation and lock-off system, safe work instruction, vehicle management plan, safe work method statement, and also how to handle absenteeism and those who have the right for retirement, because it is a continuous process. Now also you need to impact your community, your society. All these things are found in your safe system of work. So it is a collaborative effort that brings out such safe system of work. Well, it might seem daunting to you, but it's very easy as long as you get on the job. If you lack experience, always remember to consult external consultant, as we're gonna see very soon. Next one. Now, when a document is the draft document is complete, your safe system should pass through the hierarchy. That is, all of you sat down, all of you met and draw and draft it. When a complete document is formed, you need to do what we call a series evaluation. That is, you give every head, departmental head, for review. First, you give to the supervisor will associate those whom he is supervising, that is the lower officers, the employees. You need to associate them. For example, he can ask them their observation. So in fact, everybody review it. Then they need to follow the line hierarchy. After the employee review it, he might give his observation. Then you, as a supervisor, you include his observation into your observation. Then you make it follow up to the manager. The manager also does the same. So in fact, everybody should be aware, even everybody should bring their expertise. There is a Malagasy proverb that says that when we believe in people, we grow up in knowledge and in power, because to our little knowledge is added people's experience and knowledge. That is to say, everybody is really important in drawing a safety system of work. Then, when it is complete, you need to put what we call you need to register it. Since it is official document, you need to register it by having what we call a dépôt légal. That is ISBN number. Because it is official document, it need to be dated, and also it need to have its code that is enter your public documentation, and it can be used by other for data's sake, for statistics sake. So a well-documented safety system of work is really important, since it is the overall of all organizations. Now, once this is done, you need to put into practice. That is what is written in book. You need to bring it to life by communicating to everybody. That is what we have as commonwealth, what we have as common, it becomes therefore the Bible of the organization as far as safety is concerned. Then everybody apply, because we know the holy book, namely the Bible and Quran, have authority, so everybody are supposed to obey. So we obey, that is everyone will obey it. But before they obey, you need to instruct them, you need to communicate to them. It need to be explained face to face. For example, when we take sector A, dealing with mining, You need to regroup all the mining operator. You have in-house with them. You need to give them training and explain to them. It's true they have read it and make their observation, but you need to show them the application. This may be done right before the work starts. That's why those who have the opportunity to lead a toolbox talk. Toolbox talk is not the time when you start asking, how is your wife? How is you know? You focus on the job. For experts, for those who are experienced in, they always bring points from a safety system of work. And those points that they deliberate on during the toolbox or job briefing. The safe system of work will be displayed next to a piece of machinery, yes, not the whole book, but the excerpt of those points that apply to each setup. You may make a jota or at those principal points that you put it somewhere that those who are concerned will be having an eye. You know, in some houses, many people do put some jota on their fridge as a remembrance. They just put quick note on the fridge or some places whereby when you are passing through it, you can see this is exactly what you need to do. Everyone from his sector have the document within himself. Yeah, it is allowed that all worker, the staff have the document. Then they may have part that concern them. Then when it comes that external consultant need to come and work with you, they too are subject to your safe system of work, so they need to obey. The best way they can obey is when they are familiar with it, so which means you need to provide them with copy. Then you need to keep the system effective. E need to be evaluated every year and e need to be updated at least every three years or 5 years, because standard international standard also are being revised every 5 years. So this is exactly the same procedure. Now we want to talk about permit to work. Permit to work simply is a document that gives you authority to perform a particular job at a particular place under a particular condition. Failure to have such a job or such a paper, as it is said, permit to work, you cannot work, simply stated. So permit to work is one of the important documents that you need to have in place when your safety system is very effective. So we continue. We don't want to waste too much time on permit to work. As I said earlier, in summary, permit to work is a legal document that grants somebody authority to perform a particular job at a particular place under a particular condition. Failure to have such a permit to work, the person must not perform such a work. Let's talk about V3 principles that help to implement a very safe system: monitoring, inspecting, and auditing. In fact, monitoring, inspecting, and auditing are three concepts that intertwine themselves, though they have their own specificity. Monitoring, inspecting, and auditing help to identify and to collect the right information and use it to the best effect. While monitoring, inspecting, and auditing consider the factors responsible for causing accident and ill health, sometimes it goes deeper because you need to take into account the psychosocial aspect. You need to take into account also the human dimension and also the environmental impact. Looking at the human, organization, and environment factor in the workplace and the work activity. The aim is to prevent first, and also is to find the root cause. Generally in their language, they always say that this is the surface cause, but they need to go beyond the surface cause and go to the root cause so that hazard can be eliminated or control applied to reduce the risk of accident and ill health. To have effective safety personnel, inspection is really important. Inspection can be done by someone that has been trained for it, that is a competent person. inspection is the process that help. Please a minute, let me go back for yes, monitoring. I missed one. Monitoring is the number one. You can learn it to monitor. To monitor, either you monitor in a reactive way or in an active way. Active way involves that you are the one active. You make good use of your sense. You keep your eye watching on what is going on so as to help to detect the problem quickly. Active monitoring is really important since you serve as a prophet. You serve as a prophet in the sense that you predict what can happen when people fail to apply instruction, when people fail to obey instruction, then you bring their mind to the necessity of following a safe system that you people have drawn. Active monitoring including methods such as safety inspection, tour of workplace, and survey. When visiting are well calibrated, the result is always 95% positive because it helps you to have an eye on what is going on and help you to monitor things in a way that at the end everybody is satisfied. When it is reactive, it means that somebody bring to your notice something that might have failed, like accident reporting or investigation of accident. So as a auditor, you need to be active. Do not always be reactive. If you are reactive and every time it is reactive, it means that you yourself, you are not alert, you are not on alert mode. Therefore, always try to be real. You need to serve as a prophet. You need to think ahead. You need to be swift. It does not mean that you need to be an hero. No. The best way to make sure that you have a successful active monitoring is by having a good liaison between your workers, the one you are supervising, and you yourself. Do not make a gap of a boss and a lower servant between you. Find yourself as a partner. As a football team, everybody play with the aim to win the game. So everybody is important, from the keeper to the defender, left back, the midfielder, the winger, and the attacker. All of them play a role. So if you consider yourself as a team, it will be very easy to monitor or even to supervise people. Now, inspection needs to be carried out by a competent person. Inspection goes deeper than simple monitor. Inspector is more powerful than auditor in the sense that he can go beyond a simple audit simply because he has become a competent person while carrying out his inspection. Inspection go deeper and find a root cause. He does not stop at the visible cause. He does not stop at the apparent cause, but he goes beyond that. And also, he's a good thinker. He needs to be a good thinker. He needs to evaluate the lost cause that failure to adhere to principle and safety instruction might lead to. It is good to practice inspection at least twice a year. Now, as I said earlier, the term has been redefined. When it happens to do with internal, it's the auditor's role. Inspection is when an external auditor comes to inspect you. Inspection is when external audit, both inspector and auditor and monitor, they are all auditors. But now the standard is trying to bring adjustment. So whenever you have someone, normally whenever you have someone from outside to carry out activity, he's carrying out such activity under the banner of inspection, because his inspection will help to reveal things that your internal auditor might be using partiality or might be doing wrong. So that's why it is required that all sector, especially all sector, normally according to the standard, as I'm talking, my agency here have been subject to 2 different inspections. We have the state inspection that come to audit the activity we carry on since 3 years, since 2017 to 2021. That is, they start last year, 2021. Then when we started this master class, we too were busy doing other things. I went to a workshop whereby it is said that after an inspection will still come back again because the standard of inspection has been updated. So the world is swift moving. So I will be expecting some inspector very soon. Now this time they will come with the new referential, they will come with the new standard, the new application. So which means for a good organization, you need to carry out inspection at least twice a year. Then those twice a year, it will be from external auditor and carry the form of inspection. But meanwhile, your internal auditor will be carrying out his activity at least every three months, that is quarterly. Then it is based on his report, based on his SIP document that those external inspector will work on. By doing this, it assures that your organization will function well. What are the role of a safety inspector? First, it makes sure that safety policy is up to date and available. You see, he makes sure that the safety policy is up to date and available. He makes sure that the safety committee minutes are available. Accident and e-record are up to date and available. Training, that is to say the overall of safety activity of your company, the inspector will come and not only and confirm them, but he will judge them against the standard to see if they are up to date. That's why it is a very good work. Whenever you have the opportunity to become an inspector, you need to do your work with a clean conscience. Even they need to sign what we call there is a document they need to sign. It is called impartiality. I'll find the right word. It is like an oath. That is, they want to be loyal, they want to be impartial. So to avoid corruption, they need to be integrity keeper. So they need to come and test all your safety system. Now, apart from a safety inspector, we have also the general inspector, or in another way, inspector general. Their role is to inspect all your mechanism, safety, logistics, finances, overall, so that they can submit an overall report to the management or the employer. Then it is based on that he will see if his company is doing well or not. And most of the time, they follow recommendation. They are more interested in process than activity. The activity might be carried out, but they want to be interested to the process that lead to carry out such activity. And of course, this is what the standard require, because standard is interested to the process to see if the process is the right one. That's why it's always good to not to follow a shortcut. Following shortcuts does not make things to be last. An audit is a systematic, detailed assessment of the health and safety management system. As I said earlier, every company needs to have internal auditor as far as safety is concerned. A supervisor, a well-trained supervisor can play the role of internal auditor, since it will help him to monitor his workforce and it will help him to draft. Because he too is a key member while drafting the safety system. So all these things he is familiar with them, and he need to be somebody very smart, not somebody that will, while it is required that he sort out counsel, he sort out advice, he need to be someone that can foresee quickly so as to carry out his job. One of the important keys that the well-being, the welfare of all workers is hanging on him. That's why he need to make sure that there is no impartiality in treatment as far as safety is concerned for every worker. An audit has as aim to evaluate the ability of the organization manager to produce and implement a health and safety policies to control health and safety risk. Under this point, other points come like communication and consultation arrangement to involve the organization's employee, training system and competence of employees. Very sadly, because of some psychosocial problem, there are some workers that are effective, but over the year they stay at the same position, which is not fair, simply because one of the auditor failed to address such issue. So the auditor has remember that an inspector is also an auditor. Now we use the term inspector when it comes from outside, but when it is within internal, he wear his cap of auditor. He makes sure that the training system and the competencies are be promoted. One aspect I want to really focus on this is that there is a new standard, though it's not new, the standard of gender equality. What does it mean? Gender equality does not mean that woman is equal to man. No, this is not the point. In fact, in our team, me, I am proud, I'm happy that in our team, we give women opportunity. I love women. I like to commend women that are trying their best. Women need to be granted the same opportunity as men. This is the root of the standard. You give them the same opportunity. That is, if you are looking of technical ability, give the opportunity to both men and women, because time and again have proved that when women handle things, they follow the righteousness path, but men always like to abuse of the authority. So one of the key points is that the auditor need to train both the female employee as well as the male employee with the same degree, because the performance that's going to derive will benefit everyone. Therefore, please, if you are working in an organization, always motivate the ladies. Let them be motivated by what they can bring. Do not only motivate them when you want to have something from them, or when you know what I mean. So motivate them so that they can show their competence. An auditor need to reveal the positive aspect of a performance of a female worker so that things can be done properly. So training them involves training every employee, both men and women, and also we continue. Health surveillance. Health surveillance is really paramount, because as a worker, you leave your home, come to your company, and you bring input. You work as a lamp bearer. When you leave your family at home, you defend the objective, you defend the directive of your company. Therefore, you need to be well treated. Well treated means that your health should be a matter of concern, as well as the profit should be a matter of concern to the employer. Health surveillance is the systematic monitoring of the health of any worker who may be exposed to harmful substance or harmful work activity. Many organizations now actively promote the health of their employees in addition to taking preventive and precautionary measures. Yes, if you are working in a place and you notice that there is no strong, there is no tangible health surveillance in place, please start looking elsewhere, because the time of slavery has passed. Everybody looking for what is better for him. While your obligation is to perform your duty to make increase in the company also have the solemn obligation to keep you fitted, so that after retiring from that place or after moving from that place, you need to enjoy a better day with your family. You need to enjoy a better day and to see what you have labor to work hard. You need to benefit from it. So health and surveillance policies is paramount. Every company is under obligation to promote the health and safety of his personnel. That's why the insurance company are bound so as to help. But it's not simply about insurance company, but it's to put into place a mechanism whereby all workers need to be monitored while they are getting in and also when they are off. What do we mean when they are getting in? Safety health surveillance should be applied at the onset. At the onset, that is, you need to take into account the whole person, the whole workers, what is up to, his ability, his physiology, physique, I mean, and his physiologic attitude. We have two types, like medical health screening and environmental monitoring. Medical health screening show that early detection of specific work-related illness. Why it is really important is that it will help you to know which area you can affect a worker to work. We said earlier that a permit to work grants somebody authority to work in a particular circumstances or for a purpose. When you carry out your medical health screening, it will help you to see for sure who to send to this workplace, and the best person to do it is not you, but you need a medical practitioner. That's why in a well-elaborated company or those companies that go for certification, they need to have a health department, that is a medical department. Those medical departments are medical specialists. They work in hand with the safety department because it enables the employer to prevent ill health and to evaluate the need for changes that reduce the risk of the disease. You know, every time we come to give our best, it is from our body we are giving our best to the company, and most of the time we are not compensated with the equal. That's why we need to be under health screening. When we are sick, we need to take good care of ourselves. And who is going to take the lead is the employer. It is the employer obligation to take good care of us since we are working with him. That's why while signing your contract with any company, do not only look for the financial benefit or the notorious aspect. Look intently the mechanisms put in place for health surveillance. If not, you work and at the end of the day, when it's time for you to relax, you will collapse and your family will not benefit because your presence is well important to your company as well as to your family. Health surveillance help to bring out any biological monitoring, testing employee for harmful substances and body, eyesight and hearing tests, lung capacity tests and chest X-ray. All these things have the objective to keep you safe. That's why in some company it is highly prohibited that your feeding habits need to be the one they need to be the ideal to help you fitted for your job. That is to say, there are some you need to apply best practices when it comes to feeding yourself. For example, you know that it's very dangerous to use some harmful substances like drug, alcoholic beverage before coming to work or while performing job is really prohibited. Also, the environmental monitoring is really important. We are working in our environment and the environment is having direct impact on us. A good health surveillance system can help us to see who need to be sent to a particular work site. They need to know your characteristic to know which adverse weather you can handle, which adverse weather you can bear. You see, is often the what we call a croisement. Is often I'm sorry, a minute. Is often the crossover, yes, crossover, cross-check your physiognomy with the environment you're going to work. For example, let's take the example of working under hot weather or during the winter. Not everybody can bear cold. Then it will not be proper to give you a permit to work in a snowing area while you cannot withstand a lower temperature. You see, it also helps to see the direct link such environment, the impact of such environment will have in you while performing your duty. So there are many techniques to help deal with the environmental monitoring. The aim of it is that so that you performing the work will do it under normal conditions, and also the environment might not be impacted wrongly. Now, I asked the question earlier, when to introduce a health surveillance, and the answer was at the onset, that is during the first day when you are about to take your new job. Simply because when they screen you and they see that you are having a serious disease that is not compatible of the company, they will know where to affect you if necessary your skill are needed. They will know where to put you, where to dispatch you, so that you can bring in your input, your skill. Health surveillance need to be introduced when there is reasonable likelihood that the disease or condition may occur under the particular condition of work. As I said earlier, with the example I gave, working under heat or working under cold weather. There is a legal obligation in some circumstances that substances hazardous to health or radiation are involved. Those who work in a cold room or those who work in a radiation or hazardous chemical center, is proper for them before they take on their job. They need to pass through health surveillance. That's why all well field organization have their department whereby you need to go to pass through a cross-check. When to monitor employee health is really important. As I said earlier, the first point is from the first day, your first day when you come to the office, when you come to take on your job, you need to pass through such process. You see, even health surveillance have improved a lot. In advanced country, they have equipment that can help detect even some illness that you can be subject to during the coming 5 years, 10 years, and the appropriate measure can be taken. If necessary, you can work under such condition. So health surveillance can be at the recruitment or before transferring you to a job with health risk. It can also be done during work involving a risk to health or when you are overly exposed to a hazard that can stop you. Then one thing about this is that the one that work at health department should be a person of confidentiality, because those information about you should not be rendered public. It not to be rendered public, but it need to be kept in your file so that when the inspector come, because they need to confirm and ascertain all these mechanisms. So it's up to you, though they'll bring it to your knowledge, they'll bring it to your attention that you are suffering of this, you are subject of this, you cannot work under this condition. But you will know, and your safety manager also will know, but still it is kept as confidential, sealed in your file. Surveillance continuity. Employees should give their consent to participating in the program. What program? Health surveillance program. That is, nothing should be done by violating your consent. This information obtained from the program must remain confidential, as I said earlier, because it's a personal matter. For example, if I am an example I want to give, because it's not good to give bad example by citing people, but you can use bad illustration on yourself. For example, if I am HIV positive, assuming that I am HIV positive, and because of my skill are needed in the company, I will know that I am HIV positive, and the medical department, the health surveillance department, also some of them will know, but still it will remain confidential in my file. Okay. So anything, now we are at accident and ill-reporting. We cannot avoid accident. We are living in a world that is where accidents become casualty. Though it is really important to stress that we can live in an accident-free zone. We can live in an accident-free world. Everything comes first by preventing. As safety practitioner, we need to take seriously our job of preventing. Prevention should be the most important. But no matter how we prevent, sometimes it happens that accident occur. But when accident occur, what do we need to do? It should always be a record. When you go back to office, please ask if there is any accident report book in your workplace. It should be. Why it should be, we will see the reason why as we are proceeding. Recording and reporting accident and ill health and anything damaging that occur are really important, simply because those information will help to construct the database of your organization. It will help to construct the regional database of your region, and also your national statistic will become accurate. Even it will help the stakeholder to see how far they can intervene to make conditions favorable for you people. There should be an effective system of reporting and investigating accident and ill health, simply because the objective is to enable prompt help. The objective is to enable assistance, external assistance, I mentioned stakeholder. Because once your organization is having a good impact on the community also have the duty to come to your help. That's why we have the saying that during the fullness day, you always ask for help by stretching your hand. If you are having a good impact in your community, when things are beyond you, the stakeholder need to come to your help as well. Then it will enable you to have prompt remedial action, or it will prevent future accident to happen. It will help to carve out the reason why and what to avoid for future scenario not to happen. The best way we can we can help to make work easier for our auditor reporting an accident is to comply. Sadly, many of us fear reprisal. We fear to have a bad reputation. We fear to be pointing out that we lack efficiency or we lack professionalism. No, it's not because we are not efficient that accident occurred. Accident might occur at any time, though it is better to prevent. Therefore, always comply with the company instruction so that whenever something happens, you should deliberately report, because it will show that your company is complying with the legislation put in place, and the legislation state clearly that everybody should report all type of accident, because this is where the national statistics come from. But if you had your accident, it will make your national data be biased. Okay. Failure to report accident, this is what the result it might lead to. Many accidents and incidents of ill health have gone unreported, and this can affect the health and safety performance of an organization. You see, many organizations, because they want to be painted as angel, they want to be painted as the most serious organization, they fail even to report their major accidents, which is really wrong, which means they are not complying with the law. A failure to report accident or ill health can starve the organization of an essential source of information. I mentioned at the onset that standards are what we use. Do you know how those standards are been penning down? Standard, before they make a standard workable to use, ready to use, they did what we call people's enquête de terrain, that is survey. Yes, they make a survey. During the survey, people express their concern. So if those your concern that people put it down, then as time goes on, it become regulations. So if you fail to report your accident, you are starving the surveyor of source of information. Then if they do not have a source of information, accurate source of information, definitely the overall work they are going to do will not reflect the real shape of changes, so that to introduce, then other company might benefit. Therefore, always stimulate honesty, always stimulate integrity, so that people, employee can report freely the accident. Reporting accident does not make you a bad guy or a bad employee. I mean, instead it will make people to trust you, because as the saying goes on, whoever is faithful in little can be faithful when plenty is handed over to him. Therefore, have the habit to report your accident. Do not fear the reprisal. Many people think that the accident they fail to report is too trivial, or they will not appreciate the benefit of reporting accident simply for fear for reprisal. But supervisors should tactfully encourage people to explain themselves. Do not say, I know now, I know, I know, I know you are not paying attention. That's why. No, do not condemn. Leave them the free will to express themselves. By expressing themselves, it helps you to figure out exactly how things goes on. And also, one of the reasons many people fear to lose their job is true. In some company, they will tell you that if you have a number of accidents, please, you need to drop. And people are haunted with such a mentality. They are not secure. And we know how the workforce is. Many people are jobless. And now, do you want to add your number to the jobless people? So people start making calculations. That's why they fail to report. But reporting is really important. By reporting, a solution can be found. What do you need to report? Even though the regulations state that major injuries need to be reported, please have the habit of reporting everything happening to you during the work time at the workplace. I repeat, always have the habit for reporting everything that happened to you during the work time at your workplace. It will help them to have a clear indication of your work environment. Nevertheless, major injury need to be reported, like any injury resulting from an electric shock or electrical burn, any amputation, a chemical or hot metal burn to the eye, or any penetrating injury to the eye, any injury requiring resuscitation, or any injury requiring admission to hospital for more than 24 hours. Nevertheless, no matter how minor that injury might be, always try to report, because it is your right to report so that they can take care of you. If you do not report, how can the organization take care of you? Please always report. Okay, now we are living in an area whereby diseases are spreading, widespreading. We talk of before. Do not forget, do not lose sight that we are still amid COVID-19 pandemic. Now we also heard about monkeypox, chickenpox. So all of these things, the dangerous occurrence or dangerous disease that can contaminate others. So always try to report them. Disease, might it be a viral disease or a parasite disease, anything that can make you uncomfortable, always try to report. Now, but it's not everything you need to record. No. For example, all those trivial injury might not be recorded, but they need to be reported. When the inspector come, he need to check your accident report book, and he will take note of the major one. Then while submitting to the hierarchy, to emphasize why major one need to be assessed again, or why major one need to be addressed, so that appropriate budget can be allocated to help you solve the situation. Accident record should be readily available for inspector, as I said, and to the employees concerned. So inspector have the role to verify this. Then it help them to make assessment to see the root cause. Okay. For example, what do you need to record? Simply, you need to put the most information that are needed. Do not bombard the book information. Among the other information, you need to include the name of the person who was injured or ill, the date and time of accident or illness notification, the place where it happened, the activity, the equipment or the substance involved, now the impact it have on the environment. Because I will keep on hanging it, we need to protect our environment. We need to leave our ecosystem in a very nice way so that other generation might benefit from it. So we proceed. When to carry out accident investigation. I think we have said it before. When you are the one to carry out accident investigation, as a safety manager or supervisor, remember that whatever you are doing during whatever your position entitles you to do, always do it with a clean conscience. Always do it with a clean conscience. That is, you will not look for bias. Okay? An accident investigation will give you an opportunity to find out what happened and to introduce changes aimed at preventing a similar accident to occur. Do not say, this one is my friend, I need to protect here, I need to protect him here. Then you obscure some information. No, see exactly what, that's why they call you investigator. When we are called to investigate, we find out the in and out of the matter. We don't collect bribe. So do not say, oh, if I have to put it exactly when it happened, they will sack him. No, this is not your aim. You are not the one to make the decision to sack him. Your duty is to investigate. Your duty is to investigate. Then after investigation as auditor, you need to propose a control measure. So if you cover your friend which means the control measure you're going to propose will not be effective. A detailed investigation of an accident should be carried out as soon as possible so that remedial action can be taken to prevent further accidents. So always learn the integrity quality, which is an overall quality for every worker. No matter where we are working, we need to be integrity keeper. It will help people to entrust us with more responsibility. It will help people to always trust us, and we will have a good reputation, and by extension, our workmate will benefit from it, and our organization will benefit from it. Organizations should investigate all accident and incident as information gained can help to protect employees and others. And in your safe system mechanism, in your safe system, uh, in your safe system procedure or safe system manual, it should be clearly stating that all employees should honestly, this is the word, should honestly report any case of accident. Okay, sometimes it might involve that by interviewing onlookers. Sometimes you can question onlookers or those people who are there. They might not necessarily be from your organization, but you ask from their view. Because while doing carry out your investigation, it will help you to see the most relevant the most relevant information. So that two are really important while carrying out an investigation. Always ask for onlookers. If it is a major accident that occur on a national road, those who are present, ask them. Do not solely depend on what your workers or your staff will tell you. Ask from other people also. So as I said, you are the one should carry out accident investigation. I mean, you as a safety officer or supervisor, because you have been bestowed the responsibility to carry out. That's why you need to display integrity. Employees who were involved in accident or were witness may be reluctant to give as much information as they could for fear of being blamed. Before they will fear that they will be blamed, it means that maybe you to blame them on normal day. That's why in the ISO 19001, under the subheading of leadership, we have uh, uh, there is one chapter that is dedicated to human dimension. Your workers, your colleague are not your slave. They should be like your brothers. Be interested in their welfare. When you are interested in their welfare, they will be open up to you. Once they are open up to you, they will feel at ease to tell you all their concern. Then when something major occur or an accident, they will not fear, because on normal day you to be uh, 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 you need to be social with them. You are interested in the human being, not in the job they are performing to you. So to prevent them to give you important information, always try in a normal day to be with them in a good note. Do not prove yourself as the superior. It's true they need to obey the hierarchy, but at the same time, put yourself down. Do not raise up your shoulder so that they can benefit from you. Whoever is involved in the investigation should be competent to do the investigation and should have the skill and experience too. Because remember I said earlier that this is where we collect the data to make national statistics. So if your information are flawed, definitely the overall conclusion of the statistic will be biased, and it will not move the stakeholder to come to your assistance, right? You need to explore the possible cause. This is where we talk about the root cause and the apparent cause. the apparent cause is the general cause that many people will say it happened because he was drunk, it happened because this. But you should look beyond that. Do not rely on sentiment. No, the auditor that carry out investigation have some techniques. They have some leading question. Sometimes if care is not taken, you you'll be obliged even to confess things that you did not do. Yes, this is one of the technique. They will not put pressure on you. They will not intimidate you. But among the leading question they are asking you, if you are not strong enough, you confess even things that you do not do. That's why it is said that there need to be competent person. There are people trained. They have a special training for that, accident investigation and also fraud investigation. Because there are some fraud investigation that also classify as accident investigation. For example, they give you the fund to go and purchase a pass to replace. Now you did not buy the genuine pass, you buy a counterfeit pass and it lead to major accident. During the investigation, they should be able to trace until from the, that's why they'll get to the root cause. This is what I was saying, that they'll ask you some question that you'll be obliged to accept it. So those who have such a good responsibility should do it because they are competent people. And also sometimes when some insurance company notice that you were not frank in your accident reporting, they will deny all third party, that is, they will not assist you, because there too they will come and carry out the accident investigation. And environmentalists also will come and carry out the accident investigation. Therefore, you have obligation to carry out your assignment with integrity. You need to gather information, analyze information, access information, and also propose a suitable action plan to implement so as to avoid further accidents. Now we want to talk of one aspect that is really important, that this is aspect I most cherish in everything I'm doing or any organization: training, instruction. How do training and instruction and information improve standard? Remember, I want to repeat again, standard are carved out through collective information of practices. Standard are being made through experiences of people, experiences of company. For example, there are some companies that have crossed a period of time, even of century. For example, let's take the example of Ingelec. Ingelec is a long-dated company that is specialized in cables and electrical equipment. Let's take an example of Toyota. Toyota is a company that exists for many years. Those companies were family companies that persist over the year and become international brand. Most of the international standards that were useful today, such companies also help participate by providing information about their practice and training method that immensely contribute to improve standard. What is the point I want to bring out? In your respective company, it's true, you might come in the company with a measure of specific qualities, which is what is required. That's why when there is a job offer, they ask the specificity, they ask about the criteria. When you met up such a criteria, you are called as a fitted employee ready to work. Sometimes you might not have the criteria, the qualification, but for some reason they will admit you in, then they will train you to be fitted to the job. What is the point I want to make? Whenever you are living, no matter what your position is, each time you hear about training, please always volunteer yourself. Always and always volunteer yourself. Why? Training is the best gift a company could give you. Training is the golden offer a company can provide you. If you stay in a company that does not have a tangible plan of training, my brother, no matter how much they are paying you, you are lacking. Training is an essential part of health and safety management and control. The one that receives training has the power, and we all agree that knowledge application make us be powerful. Training prepare the employees through the means of information, instruction, and practice to achieve a desired skill, knowledge, or competence. Some few weeks ago, I was privileged to discussing with a man that was working in a German meteorologist agency called BTP. He said that today he's the director of African region. That is, anything concerning Africa in the partnership, he's the director of African region. He said he gets into BTP, that is the German meteorology agency, as a student that freshly graduated. Even he said he did not finish his graduation in a university. He came in without no knowledge, no skill. But one of his department director took keen interest in him by giving him training often and on, simply because he willingly offer himself. Whenever there is training, he always is present, even if the training does not concern him. And today, bear in mind, he is the director of Africa. Anything concerning German meteorology to any agency in Africa must pass through his desk. So training makes people to become efficient, and your efficacy is known. I like what training is. I always volunteer myself to be trained, because as we say, we continue growing. Always have the habit by being present, because training is very effective, and also it reduces the likelihood of injury. While we are training employees, we are training ourselves. Then if you have the privilege to train, always follow the fundamental principle that your training cover. Do not make training to be dull. Do not make training, do not make training to be a ground where you settle score with your fellow. But use training as a legacy that you can pass on to people. When everyone is trained in a company, the company stand on a solid ground, on solid basis, because all employees are trained, and while they are training, the fewer the mistake and the injury will be, and better will the outcome, the result of the job will be, and overall your company will have a good reputation. Therefore, dear managers, dear officers, while coming to training center, always document yourself. The world is open up with knowledge, because we are living in a new technology area. Everything you want can be found online. Always make yourself up to date. Update your documentation. When you update your documentation, it will help you to give something fresh, something abreast to your training. Do not hang on what you have been trained for 5 years ago, 10 years ago, because habits are changing. Always document yourself. Document yourself. Documentation It's almost free of charge. Once you just have data, everything can be found on the web. Now, always value the presence of consultants, always value the experience of others. Learn from them, acquire experience from them. Then when everybody is trained, everybody have a measure of skill. Then when you are not there, you can be sure that work will be carried out, because we all agree that we are living in a world whereby time and unforeseen occurrences befall to all. It may happen that something bad may happen to you and tomorrow you may not be present at work. If you have not trained your people before, so the job will stop simply because you are not present. It is a shame. Honestly, it's a shame. But when you train everybody, many people fear to train because they believe that when they train Mr. A will receive honor than them. But it's wrong. When Mr. A receive honor, you are the one receiving honor. In fact, it is not those who are under projector that perform well. That's why me, I don't like to be in projector. I like to, it's those who work in the background, back office, they are the ones that perform well. When you train people, you feel satisfied because you see that this is your training that is at work. So always train people and always like to be trained, no matter how experienced you are. Always find yourself in a training ground. As I am here, when they say there is training, I always try to fit myself in because we continue learning day after day. Training will bring a good revenue, and training should be based on accurate information, because it is accurate information and instruction that improve standard. As I said as a reminder, every 5 years, all international standards are being revised. That's why we always talk of, when we mention a standard, we mention the year. So accurate information based on best practices consists of a guide of training to improve standard. That is to say, every 5 years, there need to be a complete revolution in your industry. There need to be a complete revolution in your work setup. And at the same time, if you have some worker under you, if you train them properly, in 3 years, there need to be a reshuffling. Now, when to train people, you need to train people when they come in new. That is when they come new afresh. Now, I have mentioned before the benefit of providing training because it reduces the cost of ill health, and also add benefit to the productivity and your organization reputation. So let me skip this. Training should be given after someone has been appointed and when employees are exposed to new or increased risk. Yes, when even if you are leaving a company, you are working in a company for a decade and you have been appointed to another department, you need to receive training as well. When training has been completed, you need to evaluate the quality. That's why we always ask for the external consultant to come. In fact, a good company should have annual plan of training, annual training plan, whereby everybody, all the staff, then by this time, you can ask for the consultant from outside. Then some of you that are experts, you will be among the training committee. When you train, you are leaving a good legacy to your company. And you might go from the company, but the company will always remember you. That's why the example of my professor I mentioned now, he said he come into the German meteorology as a young boy without experience, lack of skill, but now he is the general overseer of whenever it concerns anything concerning meteorology about Africa. So you might leave, but people will remember you for good. So always try to be trained. Why am I insisting in this? Many people, when the training does not bring a financial revenue, they will say, no, me, I cannot go, no, I want to go. No, please. just look beyond the financial advantage you're gonna get. Look beyond that, you will see. Now, how can we provide effective training? Effective training can be provided in one-on-one class. It's because of COVID pandemic that we are having virtual training. Nevertheless, in our respective region, in Nigeria, Ghana, Benin, everywhere, we do have in-house training. So in-house training help you to be conversant with the person, to fix them in the eyes, you help them to know their motive, you see the sincerity in them, you see the eagerness to do better. So in-house training or one-on-one training can be done on the side. Learning from an experienced person at work. This is a very good point. You know, we are living in a time that everybody is busy. Everybody is busy and people hardly have time to teach you formally. But when you are watching them performing, this is one of my best strategies. Whenever I am out with my boss, I always watch him do things. I always copy his method. Sometimes he's not aware. Then when I come back, I give him some note. I will tell him when we are outside, this is what I like, the way he handles his part, the way I will submitting it to him. He will be surprised. So he will say that, so you were making note. Whereas I don't make note while he's watching at me. I make sure that everything is in my head. Then after, when I leave him, I put it down to show him that I am interested in his way of doing. Because he's older than me and he have more experience than me, I need to learn from him. Because time will be very difficult for him to say, come and sit down, let me teach you. He will not have my time. But you can learn from experienced people. Formal training by qualified trainer. You can become a qualified trainer and become a master class trainer during a future batch. Just dedicate yourself for it. We are looking for people to fill the role of trainer because every day we have a bunch of work to do. We are interested in you to become a trainer under our banner. It might not necessarily be during the master class, but it can be during one of our various training methods. So the room is open for you. Please have a good motive to train people, because while training people, you are training yourself. The best time to give general health and safety training is before employees start each work. The health and safety issues that should be covered include fire safety. We are privileged to welcome Mr. Flynn that elaborate very well on fire safety. You have the video, you can go back and review the video. Emergency evacuation procedure. Now, where to get the health and safety information, accident and hazard reporting procedure, the organization health and safety policy, and many things more. So always update your source of information. Do not use information that are caduc, that is obsolete. Always use the new version because information is fast increasing. But please always use accurate information or use accurate sources of information. Thank you very much. This is how we coming to it end, and I really appreciate your calmness and I really appreciate you for staying in with us. Now, before we finally give you the floor, there is this slide I want to show you, especially for those who aim to be auditor. Let me quickly show you this slide. Just a minute. Yeah. Earlier, I talked about the 3 E, that is the economy, efficacy, and efficiency. I said before that there are some employers that are business-minded. They don't care about safety at all. So what you can do to convince them is that any reform, any safety system you present to them, you need to make sure that the safety system adhere to these 3 principles. That is, the safety system is economic, because he will not be happy that he invested his money, a lot of millions, and the outcome will not be what he's expecting. He need to be economic. That is, when he bring out his money, he need to make sure that what you are offering him as a result is tangible. Now, if it will be tangible only if it is the efficacy is proven. Yesterday we saw how Engineer Afi talk about PPE, how to provide PPE. When the budget is allocated to buy PPE, make sure that you buy qualitative PPE at a reasonable cost so that it can last. Imagine that I ask you to kill, you want to kill a fly. You want to kill a fly, me I use my, maybe somebody use his broom, someone use a paper, then me I come with a AK-47. All of us will achieve the goal of killing the fly. But who obey to this principle, that efficacy, efficiency and economy? Who? That is to say, why many management or employer refuse to adhere to your proposal is that it is not economic or it is not strong. That is, you make waste of resources. So please, if you have such a responsibility, always try to put yourself under the shoe of the owner. At the same time, put your shoe, you put yourself under the shoe of those who benefit. So this is the 3E I was talking about. So in proper way, this is the triangle of the 3E, that is efficacy, economic and efficiency. All your proposals should meet these 3 criteria. Once it meets these 3 criteria, you are safe. Thank you very much. I really thank each one of you. Mr. Okoli Kenneth.
Yes. Good evening, everybody. Let me just go straight to. It has been a wonderful and impactful class. Thank you so much. There's 2 major questions I want to ask. So the first one is just a question I feel is common sense, and it's a sensitive question because it has to do with reality, and based on where I work, there's case of an incident where fire occurred and the gas explosion from the kitchen aspect, the gas cylinder exploded, and at the end of the day, there was a lot of injuries and 2 people lost their life. But to be honest with you, because the company is a manufacturing company, they have competitors in the market. So they wouldn't want, the public to know that maybe somebody lost his life inside the company, So it's not a good thing to the brand and the image of the company, and it's also government policy when it comes to debt. You know how sometimes they can even lead to say close the company, just like in oil company. The death of one single person could mean closing the company based on government regulations. So when it comes to auditing now, the internal auditors and the external auditors, I mean, just like I said, they sign an oath not to be biased. So, how would they try to, be fair to the employers, the man who has invested, and try at the same time do their job professionally with such documents? Then the second question I want to ask is, you have a very good safety plan, and you did risk assessment that is very good, and within your own perimeter, you'll be able to have a very good safety program to ensure that any case of injury is brought to minimum. So how do you reconcile, a plan that has to do with your neighbor who is careless, you know. Maybe you have your company situated to maybe the next neighbor, you know, maybe it's a poisonous gas or something that has to do with fire.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Okoli. Your question are pertinent question, and I really thank you for bringing such a question, even though it is time. But nevertheless, we will try to bring an approach of solution. Then on Friday, all our questions also will be answered. The very first point is that we all agree that a company is set up not for killing purpose, but for helping purpose, that is bringing workforce and at the same time to benefit workers and the general public. So in the incident that somebody died, the inspector might not necessarily say that it is deliberate. No, only abnormal person will deliberately kill person. Nevertheless, he need to bring out the fact that even if it is a half person that died, it is accountable. So fear that people will lose their privilege should not be his concern. His concern is to report what really happened. That's why I said before that they have some techniques, they have some leading questions. Even if they hide that somebody died, the inspector will be able to know if really a person died or not, simply by consulting them registry to know how many number of workers they have. He will ask series of questions that will lead to all the people present. Now, if imagine they say that he's no longer there, they will ask him to prove, to bring out the proof that show that he's no longer with them. Definitely he will come out, but the best way is to comply. That is, they should review by themselves, please, somebody died and this is the cause, so that they will have proper treatment. It's like a patient. If you went to the doctors and you say, doctor, I'm not feeling fine, and you are not able to say what type of sickness you have, the doctor will administer a general treatment to you. But when you are specific, the doctor will give you a better cure. So auditor, internal auditor and inspector have the solemn responsibility to be integrity keeper. Life of person is really important, so they need to reveal. Now, it's not necessary when they review that somebody died that government will come and close. No, they don't close company like that. It's a lot series of process. Okay. Now the second question, so the point is that they have to mention that somebody died. It is a must, they have to mention. The second question is that when people do not comply with your own regulation, even though you are doing your best, we all agree that we are living in a world that not everybody is not everybody have common sense. Not everybody have common sense, because there are some people, their sense of goodness has been flawed. So no matter what you do, they like to be against. They don't like to follow, even though it is stipulated black and white. They deliberately prefer not to follow. There is a way to handle such a people. Maybe on Friday we will talk about it, because Friday will be question and answer session. So thank you for raising up such a question, and I believe that some of you also have some question. We keep everything on Friday, right? But nevertheless, do not forget, tomorrow we have class. Our trainer tomorrow is coming from Pakistan. He's a very experienced seasonal trainer. So please try to be there on time. Tomorrow he's going to carry us along. Thank you very much. If there is no pertinent question to ask, maybe we are coming to the end of tonight's.
Thank you for your wonderful class. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Also, we really appreciate everyone.
Thank you for your wonderful session.
Thank you. Always trying to pen down your questions so that on Friday we'll discuss. We love you all. We love you all, our dear class member. We really appreciate your concern. Thank you very much. We are coming gradually to the end, so prepare yourself for tomorrow. Thank you very much. You can unmute yourself as we want to say bye-bye to each other.